here. So everyone, please join me in welcoming to the microphone the very funny Hannah Piper, everyone.
Good evening, everybody. Let's keep it going for Stacy. Yeah, great show tonight. Thank you, Stacy. I'm going to start with every stand-up comic's favorite topic, myself. A couple of things about me. I was born in Florida, which means I've dealt with the worst rain. I went to school in Boston, which means I've dealt with the worst snow. And now I live in Virginia, so I've dealt with the worst drivers. Yeah, we're in Maryland tonight. You guys have seen Virginia drivers, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Florida was filled with little old ladies that only drove to church on Sunday. They just had to leave Friday night with how slow they drove. And Boston drivers will slash your tires for having the audacity to stop at a red. But Virginia drivers are on like another level entirely. Like, they aggressively have nowhere to go. I've been cut off in the left lane by someone trying to make a right turn. Another fact about myself is that I'm a huge nerd. Come by it honestly too. Yeah, thank you. I was a physics major in college. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. Software development is what I do now, but I still, talk about things I learned in school sometimes, and people say, "Oh, are you a scientist?" And I say, "Non-practicing," because it is a bit like being raised in the church and only going on Easter and Christmas. Because you tell most people, and they go, "Oh, so you're one of those people," and you tell actual scientists, they go, "Oh, so you're going to hell." Another thing about growing up as a nerd that was weird was that, like, Hollywood still has this image of nerds as only existing to be shoved in a locker in the first 30 minutes of the movie, and then spend the next hour and a half learning that all they have to do is change everything about how they interact with the world, and then bam, they get the pretty girl and the credits roll. Like, do they not get the memo? Nerds are the new cool kids these days. People even know what Dungeons and Dragons is. I tell people I'm a dungeon master, and I have to go, no. Not with the dice. It's a weird sex thing that I do.
There is actually.
Yeah, no, and that's not the only way that, like, Hollywood misrepresents reality to create this, like, very distorted picture of the world. And no, this isn't a quicksand joke. I promise I'm more original than that. But not original enough to not have made that comment, so you work with what you got. No, it's little things. Like, okay, no one in movies ever cancels plans unless, like, something crazy dramatic has happened, like their long-lost brother has suddenly shown up and has kidnapped them. And here's the scene, the protagonist pulls out their phone and they look at it and they've got a notification. It's always from the person that they were just talking about, which is also not like reality. 9 times out of 10 I get a notification. It's Candy Crush telling me that my lives have recharged, which is just not true. Candy Crush. Like, I'm a single software developer who's been in quarantine for a year and a half. My life hasn't felt charged since I was 6. But anyway, they get the notification, they look and they go, huh, Dave's not going to be able to make it tonight. He says he's not feeling well. That's weird. And then, we cut to Dave, and the villain's got a gun to his head and is saying, just make it sound natural. Meanwhile, in real life, they look at their phone and they go, oh, Hannah says he's not going to make it tonight. Typical. She says he's not feeling well. And we cut to me in my pajamas, having just put on, The Office for the 100th time with a fresh carton of Ben & Jerry's, because it's just been one of those days. Another thing about me is that I'm a trans woman, and if I think that's pretty fucking rad.
Yeah.
If you didn't cheer for that, I'm just going to assume that you're able to read Harry Potter without having an existential crisis as you try and reconcile joyous childhood memories with the disgust you feel for the one responsible for them. No, I was pretty lucky that when I started coming out to people, I got a lot of really supportive friends, and they all said really nice things to me, made me feel good. With one exception, I had one friend, you know what she said to me? She said, oh, that's not surprising. Excuse me? It was surprising to me. If you'd seen this coming, you told me, and maybe saved me some heartache. I think that's surprising to a lot of people because there's definitely this image that trans people all know we're trans from a very young age. And that was not the case for me. I knew I was trans the same way that I think we all know we need to do something about global warming. Like, there's something very wrong here. I don't know what to do about it, but I feel like if I don't figure it out really soon, we're all gonna have a way worse time later on. But it's fine, because I did figure it out. I started transitioning. I've been on hormone therapy for about a year now. Thank you. when I went to my doctor to talk about this, we had to, make sure that I was informed and was able to give, proper informed consent and all that stuff. So, he sat me down and said, now, Hannah, before we get started here, there's some irreversible side effects we need to make sure you know about. Which is a scary phrase, irreversible side effects. Like, even when you know they're coming, if you walked into a Taco Bell and they said, before you order, we need to make sure that you know about the irreversible side effects, you say, I don't need the messy details, just give me the goddamn gordita. That response does not work in the medical world, which is something I learned that day. No, so he sat me down and he said, okay, first, you may become infertile. And I said, okay, that's fine. I froze some of the suckers, we're good. And then he said, second, you may develop erectile dysfunction. And I said, Doc, it's a dysfunction. I have anything down there to get erect. Like, give me something harder. And he looked at me and I looked at him and he looked at me and I said, no pun intended. And then he sighed and said, why do I always get the ones that think they're funny? But no, then he said, third thing is that you may develop some breast tissue. And I was like, that's a side effect, Doc? What do you think I'm here for? Last thing is that I have before I'll get out of your hair is people are always looking at the world for signs of the apocalypse, the end times, the outgoing plague, the oncoming climate crisis, disease, famine, war, super volcanoes, all these things. But if you ask me, the truest sign of the end times is that nerds are the new cool kids, because it's like the Bible says, the first will become last, the last first, the meek may inherit the earth. And have you ever seen anyone that looks meeker than Bill fucking Gates? He looks like he lost a fight to a particularly angry sack of packing peanuts, and he spent 16 years as the richest man in the world.
That's wild.
I'm not saying that, I'm no conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying that Bill Gates controls everything. I just think he's rich enough that anything he wanted to control, he could.
Yeah.
Except his dick. Yeah, rich guys and their dicks. Have you seen Bezos' spaceship?
Yes!
It's just a giant metal penis. Yeah, right? You've seen it, right? It's just, big, tall thing, two orbs. Yeah, it's a penis, guys. Branson at least made his look like a cool space plane. It was very futuristic and stylish. I know it's one I'd ride in if I had the money, and I don't. Did you hear it was $28 million to fly Blue Origins? Yeah. Let me repeat that for you guys. $28 million to ride on Bezos' space stick.
Disgusting.
I don't know, who paid that, but I promise you I could find you a cheaper dick to ride on, and it'll last longer than 10 minutes, too. All right, thank you guys. You've been a great audience tonight.